Uh, Trying to make sure it's not too hot in my car because the sun is still out. Ginormous pain in the brain. But whatever it takes to change up my electronics so I can still communicate. Not that anybody's really communicating these days. Not actual communication. A lot of people, they seem to have it in their head that when I need help, that it means I need advice. No, I don't need advice. It's the last thing I need. I know my situation better than you do. Unfortunately, I have to be a jerk to get heard. On the bright side, I hold it together pretty well. And of course, I make sure I tell on my predators. I guess my seatbelt's hanging down. Don't want to be too rude. Anyway, oh, there's one right there. He just drove by my vehicle and drove around and went the other way. That's Oregon State Police. Of course, the problem is going to any law enforcement agency alone as a homeless person gets you the mentally ill tag no matter what. So, I mean, really, what's the intent and purpose of going to somebody who's not going to help you? That's the part that a lot of people don't get. Alone, nobody's going to help me. I have a penis. Are you kidding me? My guilt was assumed from the start. On the bright side, I do stand up to predators. I also know my rights. Of course, it doesn't matter when they call you mentally ill and there's nobody else there. It's just your word versus theirs. Even if you record it live on YouTube, the people who watch your YouTube channel have to actually care. A lot of the stuff that I've had to do, you know, the bright side about it is that I tell you all about it. If I do something out of desperation, at least I admit that I did it and why. With Natalie Bollinger, it wasn't just Natalie Bollinger making my life hell. She was the least of my worries. My problem was getting cut off from my support network, being cut off from seeing my friends and family. Because in order to go see those friends and family, I had to deal with violent people. In most cases, violent people on drugs who didn't know how to take no for an answer, who didn't care that I asked them to leave me alone. See, that mentally ill tag is a double-edged sword. I was told by lawyers, hey, you know what, just tell them you're mentally ill if they don't leave you alone. And they explain the rules and all that stuff too. You know, when you talk to a lawyer, they want to tell you a bunch of stuff that you may not remember everything. You know, you'll have to ask them again, especially when it becomes complicated, which it becomes complicated immediately, because you already know, as a homeless person, if you've been through it, if you've been on the streets at all, yeah, sure, there's lots of homeless people that go to jail for things they actually did. There's also a lot of homeless people that go to jail for things that other people did, because it's just easier to blame a homeless person. When the cops tell you they caught the guy, you want to believe they did. We also get to see how, even if you work for the cops, like Leslie Snell, when crimes are committed against you, that doesn't mean that they're going to do anything special for you or care about you as a human being. lot of my predators worked for law enforcement. And the reason that they committed the crimes they did when I tried to turn in the crimes committed against me is because they could. I was easy to blow off. They didn't have to do their job. Why would they want to do their job for a quote-unquote mentally ill homeless person? And that's how we're viewed. But not just by them. We also get that treatment from the black community. We get that treatment from the Jewish community. We get that treatment from the Catholic community and from the Baptist community. We get that treatment from people of all walks of life. And then you tell us the only way to heal is to talk about it. The only way to change things is to speak up and do something about it. But when we do, it's, oh, well, we didn't mean you. We didn't mean you homeless people. We didn't mean the mentally ill. And isn't that the way that you paint it? The people that are the easiest to victimize are the ones that you call mentally ill. And why is that? Because nobody's going to believe them. You called them mentally ill. You slandered their name. See, the public wanted me to be Natalie's killer. And the cops, well, hell, I'd been speaking out about how wrong and awful and evil they are for years. About the things that they'd done to other people in Boulder, Colorado. Even some of the cops that I liked. Of course, they didn't want anybody to listen to me. And after what happened to Natalie, yeah, they had lots of incentive for trying to prevent me from being heard. There's also a lot of the people who claim to be my friends. What's their reason for cowardice? Embarrassment. They didn't know what was going on. They were too busy assuming things. Telling me what to do, what to think, what to feel. Like, hey man, you're not going through it. Now some of them have gone to some lengths, apparently, to make sure they go through similar stuff. A lot of people who wanted to tell me how to think and how to feel. People who had more resources than me. People who didn't have to deal with shit like, well, when they want to tell their stories, theirs don't include Natalie Bollinger getting her brains blown out and being all over the fucking news. Their stories don't include them being on true crime sites all over the world. Their stories all downplay the experiences that I have had to endure and continue to endure. People who want to tell me, oh, don't live in the past, who want to tell me about something that happened to them 20 years ago as an excuse to do nothing today. Like, no, your brain is not working right. And I don't like having to protect myself from the police. They and I should be on the same team out here with saving people's lives, but instead they're busy trying to destroy them. Helping to destroy people's names just because we're all taught to be sexist. And without the cameras, without those body cameras being present, without those being requisitioned, it's always their word versus their victims. And if the police aren't forthcoming with the body camera evidence, you can bet your ass that they did something wrong. No one should take a look at how much abuse I had to endure. How many assaults in real life. How many threats in real life. How many threats on Facebook and YouTube against my life. And in text messages. And harassing phone calls. And guess what? I speak up against all of them. While I'm treated like they don't exist. The screenshots for all of these are bits and pieces of actual evidence. It'd be nice if I had a place to set up where I could just set my stuff up and organize it and go through it and not have to deal with alcoholics screaming at each other or screaming at their video games or watching shows about rape and incest and all sorts of other nastiness. Listening to comedy about rape. That's friggin' not comedy, dude. The people who claimed that they were my friends before Natalie was killed. They showed before she was killed that they weren't my friends. Joanna Taylor Smith doesn't stop to imagine for one moment the amount of hell that it put me through to make that friggin' hammer for her, just so I'd have an excuse to go over there and explain to her, hey, I'm being abused. People are threatening to kill me. People are assaulting me when I go to see people in Boulder. It didn't matter. Because I never got that far. It was always about, hey, let's do this. Hey, let's do that. Hey, let's distract Sean. Let's do something other than listen to what Sean has to say. Obviously, if I'm willing to go through the hell of making a fucking hammer for you, just so you'll keep your word to talk to me about the situation, obviously, it's a pretty serious situation. Joanna Taylor Smith, like I said, and like I showed, she threatened to make Natalie's life a living hell. I didn't want it happening to Maddie or Alicia either. But you can also see they didn't care if that happened to me. They didn't care how many people hurt me. As long as they didn't have to admit the truth. They were embarrassed. Oh, poor them. Who cares? It's just a homeless guy. Poor them. You can listen to the meetings with Marcia Estrada. You get to see how I am there. And hear how I speak to her and with her. But then, you also get to see how I am on the phone right after something important just happened. Something that needs to be turned in. The mental health care workers don't listen. My friends don't listen. Everybody blows off the importance and significance of it. But yeah, people tend to do that about, well, just about everything. A lot of the stuff that Marcia Estrada said was spot on. But there's a lot of it that was wrong as well. By the way, here's 3 phones that are full of evidence. Nicole Vertner works for Tillamook Adventist Health. She's a volunteer at the Seventh-day Adventist Church here. I spoke with her about the issues that I've been having. I went to her as a mandated reporter. All people who work at hospitals are supposed to be, even the janitors. See, there's a reason I say even the janitors. It's because they're actually on the list here in Oregon. If you're the janitor at a hospital or a school, you are, in fact and indeed, a mandated reporter. If one of your students comes to you and says they was touched inappropriately by their daddy, you are required by law to turn that in. The problem is, who's actually following the law? Who actually cares about the law? The police certainly don't. They've shown that. The law doesn't matter to them. It should, shouldn't it? But then again, that all comes down to the mentally ill tag. That is their excuse to do absolutely nothing for every homeless person who exists. Every homeless person is quote-unquote mentally ill. Well, what is your mental illness? Were you diagnosed with depression? Depression doesn't make you a stalker. It doesn't make you a murderer. It doesn't make you a killer. Asking somebody to stop doesn't make you a stalker. Cursing doesn't make you a stalker. When I exhibit the same behaviors that people are throwing at me, and I'm treated as if I'm a horrible monster, that doesn't make me a stalker either. That makes me somebody who's fed up. You tell me that I just got to ignore it, that it's no big deal, it's no problem. But watch, I do it to you just once. And instead of just going out and doing all the horrible things, I just give you a tiny, tiny taste of what these people put me through. And all of a sudden you do finally get it. And you flip your friggin' wig. Every one of you. Feeling sorry for yourselves. Now imagine 6 years of that. Out of sight, out of mind, right? I don't like confrontation and I don't like bullies. If I can avoid confrontation, I for sure really would like to. But you know what? That doesn't stop bullies. Avoiding confrontation with Natalie Bollinger did not stop the bullies. It didn't stop Tim Beeson. It didn't stop Jonathan Hickson. It didn't stop any of those people. And the way that my quote-unquote friends treated me wasn't any better. Why does everybody think that telling you to move all the time is going to fix it? All that does is deprive you of the resources that you've earned and deprive you of everything that you have busted your backside for and force you to start over again and again and again and again. And because my friends and family in real life were too busy getting all messed up on drugs and alcohol, I had to depend on strangers who ended up being all messed up on drugs and alcohol. Small world, huh? And then these people don't want me to say anything about them being on drugs and alcohol. Well, why not? Why not? Most of the people that I know that ended up dead because they were drinking or because somebody else who was stupid was drinking. It's mostly over alcohol. Alcohol related. Same thing with most of the car accidents that I'm aware of where it was more than just a minor fender bender. Being forced to go to police officers that already know you're trying to turn them in because they've already committed crimes against you. That sucks. It's also illegal. Not that it matters. There's a lot of people that were very rude to me, and they wanted to be angry that I was very rude back. It's kind of funny, isn't it? Anyway, I think I'm gonna walk over by the McDonald's. try to find me a sign for a few minutes, try to get myself some gas money. Hopefully Amanda gets a hold of her mom. It sucks that I'm using up gas right now, and it sucks that I don't have any help moving my stuff from the mountains. There's a lot of stuff that sucks. There was some alright things that happened today. A young lady gave me $1. Young man who worked was earlier. It's better than nothing.